When you hear the word Viking, what comes to mind? Towering warriors with axes? Ruthless raiders burning villages? Longships slicing through icy waters? That's the image history has painted. But the truth is far more fascinating. Behind the brutality lies a civilization of explorers, traders, and believers in myths that shaped their destiny. Today we uncover the hidden secrets of the Vikings. The Viking Age began in 793 with a shocking raid on a monastery in England and lasted until 1066. For nearly 3 centuries, the Norse people dominated seas, rivers, and coastlines. But here's the twist. The Vikings were not a single nation. They didn't have one king, one homeland, or even one identity. They were groups of Norsemen from Norway, Sweden, and Denmark, bound together by culture, language, and ambition. The word Viking itself wasn't even used by them. It only became popular centuries later, in the 19th century, through literature and poetry. Daily life was not all about war. Most Vikings were farmers, fishermen, and craftsmen. They lived in wooden villages, raised cattle, and grew barley and rye. Women played an important role in Viking society, managing households, farms, and even holding property rights. Children learned skills early, from sailing to storytelling, and sagas were passed down orally to preserve history and myth. Their clothing was practical: wool tunics, cloaks, and leather shoes to withstand the cold. Meals were simple but hearty: bread, fish, meat, and ale. And here's a curiosity. Vikings were surprisingly clean for their time. Archaeologists found combs, tweezers, and even ear cleaners, showing they valued hygiene far more than other medieval societies. Their society was divided into classes. At the top were jarls, the nobles, and leaders. The majority were carls, free farmers, and warriors. At the bottom were thralls, slaves captured in raids or born into servitude. Thralls worked the land, served households, and were traded across Europe. Yet even slaves could sometimes earn freedom, showing a society more flexible than many others of the era. Homes were long houses, rectangular wooden or turf buildings with a central hearth. Families, and sometimes livestock, lived together during harsh winters. Life revolved around the fire, with storytelling, music, and conversation filling the long nights. In larger towns like Hedeby and Birka, bustling trade hubs emerged, with blacksmiths, shipbuilders, and merchants exchanging goods from across the known world. Their ships were engineering marvels, sleek, fast, and versatile. With shallow drafts, they could sail across oceans and glide up rivers, striking deep into enemy territory. These ships gave them power, mobility, and the element of surprise. And with them, the Vikings reached places no one thought possible. Their expeditions had many purposes. They sought fertile soil, warmer climates, and trade routes. They traded furs, amber, and iron for silver, wine, and spices. But they also sought wealth through violence. Raiding monasteries and villages, they spread fear across Europe. Yet they weren't just savage warriors. They were explorers who reached Iceland, Greenland, and even North America. At L'Anse aux Meadows in Newfoundland, Canada, archaeologists discovered evidence of Viking settlement around the year 1000, centuries before Columbus set sail. Imagine that. Vikings walking the shores of America long before the world even knew it existed. Their culture was deeply spiritual. They worshipped gods like Odin, the All-Father, and Thor, the thunder god, famous for slaying giants. They believed the universe was divided into 9 realms, all connected by the cosmic tree Yggdrasil. For them, dying in battle was the ultimate honor. A warrior who fell bravely would be welcomed into Valhalla, the Hall of the Gods, to feast alongside Odin. Courage mattered more than life itself, and looming over all of this was a prophecy. Ragnarok, the end of the world, an apocalyptic battle where gods, giants, and humans would perish, and the universe itself would collapse. This belief shaped their fearless approach to war, fighting as if every battle could be their last. Their invasions left scars across Europe. Small bands of Vikings, each led by local chiefs, attacked England, France, and Russia. One of the most famous episodes was the Siege of Paris in 845, led by Ragnar Lodbrok. Hundreds of Viking ships sailed up the Seine, surrounded the city, and forced its surrender. The Vikings demanded ransom, took what they wanted, and left, only to return again. Their brutality was legendary. They didn't distinguish between peasants or nobles. Everyone was a target. Yet their raids also spread their influence, their culture, and their legends. But here's another curiosity. Vikings were not only feared, they were admired. In many places, they were hired as mercenaries. The Byzantine Empire even created the Varangian Guard, an elite unit of Viking warriors who protected the emperor himself. Imagine that. The same men who terrorized Europe became bodyguards of one of the most powerful rulers in history. Law and order were central to Viking life. Disputes were settled at assemblies called things, where free men debated and judged. Laws were memorized and recited by officials known as law speakers. Instead of endless blood feuds, they often used wergild, a system of compensation payments, to resolve conflicts. Honor and reputation were everything. Breaking an oath could destroy a man's standing forever. Every era has an end. By the 11th century, Viking power began to fade. Local populations grew stronger, defenses improved, and Christianity spread across Scandinavia. In 1066, the Norwegian king Harald Hardrada was defeated at Stamford Bridge in England. That battle marked the official end of the Viking Age. The people who once seemed unstoppable disappeared, blending into other cultures, becoming farmers, merchants, and Christians. Their legacy, however, endured. And what about those horned helmets you've seen in movies and cartoons? Forget them. Vikings never wore horned helmets. That image was invented in the 19th century, long after the Viking Age ended. In reality, such helmets would have been heavy, impractical, and useless in battle. Another myth shattered. And here's one more surprise. Vikings loved storytelling. Their sagas, epic tales of gods, heroes, and voyages, were the Netflix of their time, keeping communities entertained during long winters. The Vikings were not just bloodthirsty barbarians. They were explorers who reached America before Columbus, merchants who connected distant lands, and believers in myths that shaped their courage. They valued hygiene, told stories that still inspire modern culture, and even served as imperial bodyguards. Their legacy is a mix of brutality and brilliance, fear and fascination. They were a people who lived without fear, who embraced both life and death, and who left behind stories that still captivate us today. So now I ask you, which Viking secret surprised you the most? Was it their fearless belief in Valhalla? Their arrival in America centuries before Columbus? Their role as bodyguards in Byzantium? Or the fact that the horned helmets were nothing but a myth? Leave your comment, hit the like, subscribe, share this video, and join us again for the next episode of Untold Curiosities. See ya.